Well, perhaps part of the problem here is that it actually makes a difference that the president of the United States is not with us. Now, listen, I've been saying for a couple of years at this point that Joe Biden is no longer with us, that the late lamented Joe Biden obviously is in a state of mental decline. He sort of stunned the country on Friday because he was asked a simple question about Title 42. And he proceeded to give a discourse about the federal judge in Florida who knocked down the mask mandate. So he clearly just mixes up in his feeble brain Title 42 and the federal mask mandate, which are not remotely the same thing. And he just starts jabbering about it as though this is an intelligible answer because the wires are crossed up there. There's nothing going on, which means that the people who are actually running the country, and I get this question all the time, who's actually running the country? Because this guy clearly ain't. So who actually is running the country? And what I say is, in his lucid moments, Joe Biden makes big decisions, like pull out from Afghanistan. And then his team has to scramble to backfill. So the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump on this one is that Donald Trump would have these moments of decisiveness, and then his team would very often talk him out of it. They would say, Mr. President, that's a bad idea. Joe Biden has these moments of lucidity where the dumbest possible ideas crystallize in his feeble brain. And then he says, get out of Afghanistan. And then his team, instead of saying that's a really bad idea, maybe we should wait, they rush to do his bidding. And so you have sort of occasional guidance from Joe Biden, but the administration in reality is being run by Ron Klain, who's the White House chief of staff, and Susan Rice, who's domestic policy advisor, and Jake Sullivan over at the NSA. Those are the people who are actually running the country. All of them are brutally incompetent. All of them are ideologically committed to the hard left. And you can see it as it results in policy. So it is a scary thing that the president of the United States is no longer with us. And this clip should frighten you. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent, it should be of concern to you. Listen, I remember when there was a lot of talk about Donald Trump taking office, should they invoke the 25th Amendment? And the idea was that he was crazy. Okay, well, he was no crazier when he was president than he was when he was running. But here you actually have, I don't know any other way to put this. This is senility. I mean, you're watching a man go senile while he is president of the United States. Here is Joe Biden.
On Title 42, sir, are you considering delaying lifting Title 42?
No, what I'm considering is continuing to hear from well, first of all, there's going to be an appeal by the Justice Department, because as a matter of principle, we want to be able to be in a position where if, in fact, it is strongly concluded by the scientists that we need Title 42, that we be able to do that. But there has been no decision on extending Title 42.
What is he talking about? What is he talking about? He immediately mixes up the federal mask mandate with Title 42 and then just jabbers about it for a couple paragraphs there. This should be wildly disquieting. So the White House had to come out and clean up because, again, the job of the White House press corps and the White House press secretary, they basically play Joe Biden's night nurse. Every single night he craps the bed, and every single morning they come in and they change the bedpan and they change the sheets. And they make sure that there is some form of plastic over the mattress. The White House had to issue a statement clarifying his remarks. Quote, I want to clarify that in comments at the conclusion of my remarks this morning, I was referring to the CDC's mask mandate, and there is no Department of Justice action on Title 42. Well, yeah, we know. But the whole point here is that Joe Biden is no longer with us. And so all of these sort of humorous moments that are out there where Joe Biden is shaking hands with thin air, or where Joe Biden is talking about Trump, okay, all of that stops being humorous when it turns out that this is the most powerful man on the face of the earth. And again, he has these sort of brain hiccups on a regular basis. Over the weekend, he gave a speech where he announced that 80% of the people he grew up with had asthma. 80%.
When it came spring, it came the fall, this is the God's truth. And you get in the car, and there's a little frost on the window, turn on the windshield wiper, there'd be an oil slick. Not a joke. I have asthma, and 80% of the people who, in fact, we grew up with have asthma. That's what you call a fence line community.
I mean, this is the kind of person who's president of the United States. I mean, over the weekend, he was talking about how he brought nations together, 100 nations together. Couldn't even remember the name of the meeting that he brought the nations together for.
We saw new standards. We set new standards. We slashed methane and brought over 100 nations together when I was at the big meeting we had in Europe. 100 nations around the globe.
Okay, so who exactly is running the administration? The answer is the radicals are running the administration. Now, Joe Biden always says what he thinks the center of the Democratic Party wants to hear. The center of the Democratic Party has moved to the left. But the simple fact is that on Title 42, every single senator who's in a vulnerable seat is asking Joe Biden not to end Title 42. The White House still continues to push forward on ending Title 42, which would unleash a wave of illegal immigration like we've never seen in this country. You have people in the center, the Maggie Hassans in New Hampshire and the Mark Kellys in Arizona, the sort of centrist-leaning Democrats, and they are begging Joe Biden not to end Title 42. But then you have Senator Elizabeth Warren, who's a crazy radical left-winger from Massachusetts, talking about how we need to reverse Title 42, and guess who wins this argument?
Title 42 is not consistent with our values, and it doesn't keep us safer. The Biden administration is putting plans in place to deal with people who are asking for amnesty and humanitarian relief at the border. But keep in mind, we need comprehensive immigration reform.
Okay, so again, the fact is that when you have a feeble-minded president of the United States, the most powerful force inside the administration is what is going to end up taking over for that feeble-minded president. That's what you have in Joe Biden, which is truly a frightening prospect. We're in a battle for the culture and for our values. Like and subscribe to help keep our videos on the front line of the fight and top of your feed.